All righty. Well, happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome. My name is Natasha Davey. I am the DEI manager for Local 88. Welcome. I'm going to have the panelists introduce themselves. And then for everyone else in the room, if you could introduce yourself in the chat, your name, pronouns, and where you work. And I will pass it over to Percy.
Thank you very much, Natasha. I am Percy Winters Jr. I am the co-lead steward for the health department, also executive board member for Local 88. I work in McCoy building downtown. I am going to ask Julia if they would introduce themselves.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Julia DeBao. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm the facility and safety liaison for the health department. It's good to see you all this afternoon. I will go ahead and pass the baton to Dorothy.
As soon as I learn how to unmute. Good morning, actually it's good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad to be here. I am Dorothy Elmore. I am the Director of Workplace Security for the Multnomah County, and I use she, her pronouns, and I am located in the McCoy building. And I will pass it over to Jocelyn.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jocelyn Baker. I use she, her pronouns. I'm AFSCME Local 88 president. Natasha and Percy, do you want me to keep passing it or should I pass it?
You can pass it back to me.
Okay, all your attendees are in. I'm just one more person showed up.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, we're just so excited today. You know, we've been putting these on the last couple of months, and we always try to find a topic that is really important to our members. And we know that workplace security is at the top with a lot of the events that's been going on lately. And so we are excited to have Miss Dorothy Elmore here in her role for about 2 months with the county. And so we're gonna have like some questions that we have already put out for her to kind of get started. And then we ask folks to submit questions as well. And we will take questions from those that are here. So if you have questions that come up, please write them down. There will be time in the next 30 minutes or so to be able to ask Miss Dorothy what you have on hand. So I will turn it over to Percy.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Davey. Welcome, everyone. Listen, I'm just gonna start off by saying I feel totally like crap, but I'm trying to bring the sunshine. I'm trying to brighten up everybody's day. I got a bad cold, but you know what? I put on my shirt today so we all could smile. If nothing else, you could probably look and say, what an ugly, loud ass shirt you got on. You know, that was my intention today. All right. Let's have a good conversation around security and safety with our panelist, Ms. Elmore here today. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it kicked off. As Natasha said, you know, we got a couple of questions we're gonna set the tone with, and then what we'll do is we'll go to some that were submitted, and then if you all have some that are in chat, then we'll go to that. We want this to be an interactive conversation. So get us started. Ms. Elmore, why don't you tell us about you, who Dorothy Elmore is?
Well, good morning again, good afternoon, everyone. I am very pleased to be here and thank you for the invite. I am a fourth generation Portlander with around 40 years of law enforcement and disaster management experience and about 9 years experience in the field of mental health. I was a mental health therapist before I became a police officer. I am a mother of 2 wonderful children, a son Corey and a daughter Camille, and I also have 2 glorious, beautiful grandchildren, Jonah and Naomi, and a son-in-law that I truly, honestly, and this is an honest remark, I truly adore. And so I live in the North Portland. I love to travel domestic and foreign lands. I have a must need to live near water. I don't know what it is, but I have to be near water and enjoy many hobbies and to keep my mind very sane. I am accessible and available with an office door that is always open and welcoming and a cell phone that is always on and answered. So as your security director, I pledge that. That's my pledge to you. I lead with a trauma-informed lens and am accountable to the values of anti-racism and change management and collaboration and cooperation and equity, transparency. I am fiscally responsible, and most importantly, I value employee engagement. I want you to talk to me. I want you to talk to me both by phone, by email, by text, by just visiting me in my office. I want to know what your concerns are and what your fears are and what your advice for me will be and for my team will be. So I'm here to serve you as employees along with the entire county. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Can you tell us about your plan around security for the members of the county?
So when I first arrived, and I've been here for about a month and a half, almost 2 months now, Multnomah County has some security program components in place already. However, the security components that exist are decentralized and departmentalized among the library services, health services, community justice, facilities services, technology services, human resources, and various other departments. You guys are all over the place with your security and safety protocols, policies. Decentralization, in my opinion, impedes having a consolidated view of security issues affecting the county, and thus may allow issues to become larger than needed before attention is provided. This may also prevent the county chair, county commissioners, and other department leaders from having a full view of the security issues facing the county in general. That means that because it's so decentralized, because it's not standardized across the county, all of these issues that are happening to the day-to-day workers, meaning that you guys happening in your sites, does not necessarily filter up to the leaders who make those decisions on policies and procedures and how to keep everybody safe in the county. So that's what I found. Using a trauma-informed racial justice and equity lens, I and my team, once we're hired, I have 2 team members coming on board, plan to develop a security program that provides a multidisciplinary approach to safety and security that ventures beyond the conventional enforcement and embraces collaboration and creativity. I personally will work with a range of stakeholders to develop a security program to provide the much needed safety and security support that county employees, the clients that frequent the county businesses and services, elected officials, and the county at large. That's what you require. That's what I should provide to you. I planned, my goals are to plan, develop, and implement a workplace security program, looking at your policies, process, and employee training and resources. I want to provide a high-level subject matter expertise and a central point of contact for security-related incidents and issues across the county. I want you to know who to go to when there are security issues, concerns, fears, everything surrounding security. I want you to know there's a link, there's a pathway. I want you to, for all county employees, to really understand where to go and who to talk with. I will also advise department leadership, chief operating officers, and elected officials on security-related matters. And I'll stop right there, Percy, unless you want me to go on.
No, I just have one quick follow-up in response to something you said, which is currently, are you a team of one, so to speak?
Yes, I am a team of one, and I have been authorized to hire 2 additional team members for the security program.
And do you, and I know you can't wave a magic wand and say it's going to be tomorrow, but will it probably be the new fiscal year, just say in July, compared to next week, would you say?
I'm right in the midst of writing those job descriptions right now, working with HR to write those job descriptions, and hopefully I'll get the first position posted within the next few weeks. And then my last position, hopefully will be posted in August, so I can have my team really boots on the ground by September. Okay,
all right. And did you touch on it a little bit in your response about where the status of the your program is? I can understand right now you're a team of one. Are you just putting and implementing, getting your pieces together?
So right now I'm looking at and I'm evaluating. I've been to site visits. I started out with, of course, the Multnomah building, and I do what we call a security site visits. And then I went to the main county library because of the recent security issues and incidents that have happened in the county library. I've just completed all of the site visits for the county health departments, all your clinics, and so I still have to do the school-based health clinics, but I've completed along with um, um, Ryan, who was escorting me around to all your clinics. I did site visits. What is a site visit assessment? Assessment is I'm looking at that site and I'm looking at all your security vulnerabilities. I'm talking to the staff that is working out of those buildings and the leadership management supervisors of working out of those buildings. And those include the pharmacy, your dental clinics, any other kinds of organizations that's within or housed in that building. I look at all your cameras. I look at what safety measures you have, what training that you need as far as your staff is concerned. I look at your access controls, your badge access controls, whether you have a physical security presence there and what are their post orders, what do they do? How safe? I asked a question. Do you know what that panic button does? That panic button is right there by your desk. Do you know, have you ever pressed it? Have you ever, what do you do? What happens when you do press it? And so I understand that there are lots of training that needs to happen in those sites. There are a lot of emergency processes and policies and plans that need to be in place at those specific sites. And so I'm looking at needs assessment. I'm doing a gap analysis. I'm doing a visual talking to and finding out how safe do people actually feel and what can I do, me and my team can do to make sure to mitigate those fears and to put a plan together to make them have some ownership over their own safety while they're working in county buildings and have some ownership over the safety of others, and then working with me to provide safety for everyone, including the assets, your sites, and your physical, your physical body while you're working in the county. I hope that makes sense.
One follow-up question, because you've been doing this for a while. When you was out assessing these sites and stuff, did you have a uh-oh moment at some of the sites? You don't have to tell us, a specific site. Did you see something that quote unquote concerned you?
I saw a lot of vulnerabilities.
Okay.
I looked at all of your sites, and every single site that I've been to so far has a number of vulnerabilities. And those vulnerabilities are locations of whether your site has physical security or not, whether those locations, whether you have the ability to lock your doors automatically when there is a threat outside, preventing someone from getting inside, whether your camera placements are suitable, or whether you have enough cameras both inside and outside of your buildings. Who views those cameras? Are they viewed 24/7? And what do you do do you have your panic buttons? Do you know what to do? How are you trained? Your lighting outside the building, especially during the winter months. When you're leaving your building, are you feeling safe going to your vehicle or going to public transit? And is there enough lighting or shrub removal and where you feel safe walking down that path? Looking at what kind of options that you have for security? What do you have? What's your communication plan when something happens? Who do you notify and how does that get resolved? And are you debriefed after every incident that is traumatic? And so I'm looking at all of those things, actually talking to people. I want to know, and it's not that putting anybody's on the spot. I really, truly want to know, because your information will help me put together a security program that is working for the safety and security of everybody in the county.
All right. Last introduction question. How will you involve the union in implementing your security program?
The union is extremely important, in my opinion, as always has been in my 40 years of law enforcement and in other areas of where I worked, because they represent the employees. They represent the folks who are doing the day-to-day work here. And so they take care of their needs. And so I'm here to take care of their needs also. So I want to make sure that what my policies, and I say my, they're not mine, the county policies and the procedures and the training is in alignment with union. And so I need them sitting around the table when I'm also talking about these policies, when we're developing these policies, because these policies directly affect the day-to-day workers of the county. They affect the employees, they affect the clientele, they affect everything. So that's extremely important to have the union around, because if I don't, they're going to come to me anyway, and it's not going to be a nice conversation. I'd rather be cooperative and collaborative and working on the same sheet of music. Like my old saying, if we all play well in the sandbox, then we all will get what we need accomplished in a collaborative and cooperative manner.
All right, thank you very much. Now, those were our introduction questions that we had for Ms. Elmore. Now for the participants, we're going to get into some of the questions that were submitted. If during this process, what I would like to do is I would like to read a question that was submitted and then come to you all as participants. If you have a question, you can put it in the chat. Natasha can keep an eye on what's going on in the chat. And I'll also ask Julia as well. I also want you all to know that Julia is here because Julia works at the McCoy building. So if there's something McCoy specific, hopefully if Dorothy can't answer it, Julia will be here to answer for the McCoy building and stuff. So that's going to be the process. It's our time to have this Q&A with Ms. Elmore. She may or may not have all the answers. As you have already said, hold her to the commitment of having that conversation, that open door policy, that getting back to me and stuff. I think that's one of the things that we have to do. Not only Ms. Elmore, but all of our leaders, when they say something, you know, hold them accountable for it. So with that said, the first question that was submitted, Ms. Elmore, was some of our members work within the jails. So simply using law enforcement or incarceration when individuals are unsafe in the community does not fully address workplace safety for all our members. What ideas outside of utilizing law enforcement do you have to prevent safety issues from occurring, since that is really the only way to ensure workplace safety for all members? And if I need to repeat it, please let me know.
Okay. So if I get the question correctly, jails is not always the answer. And jails is never the answer. It truly isn't. It never has been the only answer to security and safety in our communities and in our workspaces. We have to be self-aware. We have to have some tools. And my mental health background actually balanced me when I became a police officer. It was really nicely balanced because I used those mental health tools, that skill set to de-escalate whenever I was involved in traumatic situations. So to give you an example, it was very rare that I took my handgun out and pointed it at anyone for any reason. And they could be extremely agitated individuals. I use my calmness, my voice, my demeanor, and my personal understanding of what trauma truly is in order to de-escalate situations. And highly I'm talking high agitated people with weapons situations. And so in answering your question, jails are not the answer. My whole idea of security and safety is knowing who the person is, knowing yourself first, understanding where you are and how you want to protect yourself and others, and then understand what that threat level is. What is that threat, and understand how to deal with it. How I want security. I want the staff to pull back from being security. I want my security officers, my security force, my security team to be the focal point of that threat. And so, and using a trauma-informed lens in order to do that. So my officers I plan to have a high level, I have very high expectations of my officers and how they will perform and conduct themselves when they are interacting with both the clients and community at large and your staff. So they are going to be self-aware. They are going to be having a trauma-informed lens. What does that mean? That means I don't want to add trauma onto an already traumatized person. I want to be able to de-escalate that individual, however long it takes. If it takes hours to do that, then it's going to take hours to do that. And that's okay, as long as the safety and security of the people that we're here to protect is safe and secure. So I'm going to put my folks in the forefront. De-escalating means that I want to make sure that those needs and those services of that individual are met to the best of my ability. And if they're not met by me immediately, then we have to contact those people or those resources or those departments in order to get that accomplished. And then after that, we do a debrief, because not everything is going to go according to Dorothy Elmore. Not everything is going to be successful. There are going to be hiccups, there are going to be tragedies, there are going to be some things that just will not go and turn out well. But how can we make that better? We can debrief, we can get suggestions, get the right people around the table, and to instruct and to advise and to suggest and to recommend to the security department how to improve upon what we are already doing. We can't do this in a vacuum. I have never done this in a vacuum. I will never do this in a vacuum. I always want people around who are directly impacted and affected by this issue, by the security and safety, to sit around the table to help me come up with a plan, because I am not the be all of anything. I need help from everyone in order to do this. So I don't know if I answered your question.
You did.
Jails is not, 911 is not the answer, folks. It's not. The incumbents is on how we take care of our own, by communication, by our demeanor, by our understanding, by our resources, and what is available to us. We all have to be self-aware, and contact, communicate is the key.
All right, we're going to pose a question that was in the chat. It said, what are your thoughts on moving towards co-locating county services for ease of access to resources? Having easier access to each other might help prevent a lot of security issues that stem from lack of access to resources from escalating. Example, placing a library, health center, preschool program, meal site, in aging and disability office in the same easily accessible building. So the question is, what is your thoughts on moving toward co-locating county services for ease of access to resources?
So you're talking to a security person. Always remember that, okay? Because my lens is security and safety. So when you're bringing all those different departments together under one roof, I'm looking at the security and safety of all those individuals in that place. How can I make those folks safe? So when you're bringing childcare with the elderly and with any other trauma impacted departments, who's going to be visiting those spaces? Who's going to be servicing? What kind of services are they going to be providing? And how are you going to mitigate people who get out of hand, especially when I talk about children? Children are, I don't want my kids to be traumatized by things that happen in a site that if I cohabitate all these different departments, that it could very well happen. So honestly, that is a challenge to me. That would be a very challenge, cohabitating all this, because it really is a challenge right now. So I take Southeast, the clinic, or even Northeast, anywhere that has aging and disability services housed there. They have a pharmacy, they have a medical clinic, they have WIC, they have, what's that service that they have? Oh, Meals on Wheels. They have all of those services, attracts different folks. Some folks misbehave, some folks behave. So what do you do with that? I have a lot of those challenges in keeping folks safe. So I don't have an easy answer for that. My answer is that it will be challenging if it's easily accessible to a lot of people for the clientele. It's very challenging for security and safety on a number of fronts.
Thank you. Now I'm gonna move back to a question that was submitted. And Julia, this one right here might be both for you and Dorothy. I'll read the question as I did and then reread what they're asking. With the closing of the Old Town Homeless Village located at 6th Avenue and Hort Street, according to Commissioner Dan Ryan's office, the shelter is being closed for the safety of the staff and the villagers, and that is due to the activities surrounding the village. Taking this into consideration, what plans do you have to make the two county facilities that are across the street from the village, the McCoy Building and the Greyhound Shelter, safer? The shelter has been shot into. The county has facilities trade people that respond to these sites 24/7. They drive marked county vehicles and wear uniforms so they are visible. The county could purchase the land that the village is vacating and build a secure parking structure with a skywalk, such as what is at 503 building. What are your plans or ideas to make these two locations safer? And they're talking about the McCoy Building and the shelter with the closing of the little housing across the street. And Ellie, I did see your hand up a few minutes ago. When Dorothy and Julia get done, I'll call upon you for a clarifying question, okay? All right, so which one of you two would like to take that one? Or if you have an answer.
I'll defer to Julia first, because whatever the city commissioners are doing, I'm reading about it, but I don't have any direct knowledge of it. So.
Yeah, I can take the lead in this. Addressing specifically to what the commissioner has talked to, I'm on the same boat with Dorothy, where I've read about it and I've had kind of a high level understanding of what he has said. But in the reality of what is happening in McCoy, one of the biggest issues was that crime did increase around that area, and we could not separate or identify which crimes were within the village and outside of the village. And so that's one of the reasons why this conversation happened. So there was an increase in using for those that are around there. There were more folks that were selling in almost all the corners. Broad daylight, they had slogans for it. There was more burglary, sorry, English is my second language, so some words are going to be hard to come out for me. More of the parking situation that was happening there. We found an increase of folks scouting which cars to bust open in the middle of the day, because they understood that police response was a lot slower. So it became extremely, I wouldn't say organized, but it was happening simultaneously, and we just could not separate what was happening in the village versus what was happening in the community. And that, I think, is one of the biggest reason that they decided to close the village, for the safety of not only the community, but also the folks in the village were also being impacted by some of those crimes.
Okay, so now that I have a better view of understanding, because I honestly didn't know. So just a really quick, Percy, of what I would plan on doing is I need communication and collaboration and coordination with all of the entities involved. So if that village is going to be removed, and I don't know what they're going to be, what the plan is to what they're going to do, plan with that piece of property right there. But irrespective of that, I walk across the street. That was my main purpose of having the security program, the security team housed in the McCoy building, is because of all of these issues that have been going on in the McCoy, in and around the McCoy building. So I thought that this will be a very good strategic place to house the security department. And so I can have a glance. I do catch the max. So I walk across the street and there's drug dealings right in front of me. They're walking past me, and I just need to get a really good, firm understanding of what's going on a daily basis over in and around the McCoy building in order to put a plan together in order to keep folks safe. So there are a lot of things that I am jotting down in my book on things to do. And the first thing is to establish a relationship with the clinic across the street, an ongoing communication of what they're doing, because I don't see any signage. I don't see anything about no drug dealing, no loitering, no anything. I mean, that's the first basic things that we do is to put signs up and saying, folks, I know you're doing this, but please don't do it, at least not around here. So I'm going to do a communication plan, sit down and around the table and plan out, communicate, collaborate, and see what we can do to kind of mitigate a lot of this. And then I have over 25 and a half years of the Portland Police Bureau. I retired as an assistant chief. So I still have some connections there. And I plan on using those connections to help with the district officers, the bike patrol, and all of those to keep a holistic, comprehensive plan on safety and security in around the McCoy building, utilizing those services, knowing that they're very short-staffed, but utilizing in a way that can kind of complement the plan that I have, I will be putting in place hopefully shortly. Just to say also that my other plan, my vision, it might take about a year to bring this into fruition, is that I plan to have a security operations center here in the McCoy where the cameras and 24/7, viewing of those cameras in and around the McCoy building, and an emergency response team that will be going out and dealing with those ongoing safety and security issues around the McCoy building, knowing that we have absolutely no jurisdiction once we cross the street. We don't have any jurisdiction over the Bud Commons or any place like that, but we do have a very strong communication plan. Once we communicate, and we're all the managers and the leased buildings and the property managers are all on the same sheet of music when it comes to security and safety, and understand our own policies and procedures, and working together to keep everything safe in coordination with everyone, I think we'll come up with a pretty good plan. But again, it's going to take some time. I'm sorry, folks, I can't have it tomorrow. I can't have it a month from now. It's going to be developed, but I can assure you, and you can hold me accountable, because that's what I expect, is for you to hold me accountable when things are not at a level where you think that they should be. But also keep in mind that I am a program of one, and I will be a program of three. But we plan on using a collaborative partnership and stakeholders in order to accomplish a county-wide security initiatives and policies. Hopefully I wasn't too long-winded.
You're fine. Ellie, you had a follow-up question from earlier, or question?
I did. Yeah. I guess I'm thinking about the children that we already have using a lot of those multi-use spaces. Definitely we have children in libraries. Definitely we have children accessing WIC in those offices. We have children in health clinics. I work at Aging and Disability, and we definitely have children come into our building. And I'm thinking about trauma and how things like lack of access to resources, food insecurity, parental housing instability impact the lives of those children, right? So I guess I'm wondering, if not co-location, how can we as a county kind of come together and work on those security issues that do arise from lack of resources, from a trauma-informed lens, for everybody. What are your, I guess, your suggestions as an alternative? Because I know that library staff in particular are dealing, daily with trying to bounce between serving children and serving our houseless population during the daytime, because that is a safe place for people to go. So, I mean, we've got some complexity. And so if calling 911 is not the answer, and I agree with you there, what are our routes for being better accessible to each other, to kind of come together and help keep our community safe before we get to the point where people are acting out.
Yes. And so thank you for that question. I think it's a great question. And so when I'm looking at that, I want to be brought in, my security team needs to be brought in the outset of that plan. If you're going to co-locate a lot of departments, then bring security around that table. I know you have safety and risk management around the table, unions are around the table, but now I would like to have security around the table so we can come up with a really holistic security plan around keeping the folks who frequent safe and not include or add on any trauma. I want to use security in a different way. It's a more creative way. It's a more collaborative way. It's a more welcoming way than what you see security and what you visualize security. And I'm talking about security guards or security officers. I have a high expectation of that role and their duties. And it's going to be I also have a higher expectation of their training, and I expect them to do a little bit more than what they're doing currently. So I want them to be utilized differently and more, having them utilized more. And we can dress them down. We can put them in plain clothes. We could put them in a suit. We could put them in a shirt jacket, or we put them in uniform, depending on the location. But how they are doing their daily duties and how they're responding to trauma and violence is going to be different in my vision. And so that would help a lot with the day-to-day staff doing the jobs that they were hired to do, instead of doing security in addition to their daily jobs. Because if you're hiring security and you're having your staff do security, other than just being self-aware and de-escalating instances, then there's a disconnect there, because you're paying for a service, a lot of money for a service that you're not getting the full service of. So in my vision, if you are going to have cohabitants, departments that are under many departments under one roof, then we can put together a really good security safety plan around that to keep folks safe. Now, nothing, honestly, folks, please, bear with me. There is no 100% proof or security proof plan. Something invariably does go wrong, because we are all human beings and we all have our own idiosyncrasies and traumas. So we're in a new normal now. It is a very violent society. It is they do not care society. And we have to realize that when we're talking about all of these issues. We have to realize that and really kind of stand back and take a deep breath and look at everything from a whole different lens now, because of what's happening across this country and in the city of Portland on a daily basis. So that's my ask of you. When we put this program, policies, plans, procedures together, I would love for the staff and the county employees to look at things through also a different lens of security, a different security lens of, because of what's happening around the country and around the city of Portland.
I'm gonna jump into a couple of questions that was in the chat. Really appreciate the chat questions. So the first question that I'm gonna ask is, why did you move from being a mental health therapist to a law enforcement officer?
Well, my whole goal was to be a circuit court judge. That was my vision when I was little and I was growing up, going through college. And I thought that I also was very interested in people and people who were in crisis, especially children. So I was more of a mental health therapist for adolescents. I was an adolescence therapist. And because I thought that children and children who were traumatized were, I just, my heart just moved me towards that. My heart and my head just moved me towards that field. And I worked in that field. I was a house parent, started out as a house parent when I was in college for a child care facility in California. Then I moved back home and worked as a therapist in Riverside Psychiatric Hospital and Pacific Gateway Psychiatric Hospital in the adolescent wing. I honestly, after my last 9 cases, I honestly burned out. I literally burned out. I was getting death threats from parents who abused their children. I was getting, as a therapist, and I was just saying, okay, enough is that. Portland Police Bureau was hiring. I wanted to go to law school, couldn't afford it. Thought that was a great stepping stone. I had some friends and family that are already police officers. They encouraged me to apply. I did. I applied. I fell in love with the profession and I stayed on. I found that the very cynical part of police work, very linear, very militaristic. I found that my mental health experience kind of balanced that, put that together, and I came out, I hope, a very balanced thinking person where I just did not have to use a lot of force. My force was my demeanor, my gender, and my voice. And that's what got me through a lot of very sticky situations while I was working as police.
Thank you. And this one is probably looking for a little guidance from maybe both you and Julia. It states, I know there is a current security officer at the building my husband works in who is racist and overreacts to visitors to the building who are Black. There have been complaints filed about it by staff and clients, but nothing has happened. What actions can be made so that this person does not continue to go after the clients in the building? I guess a little direction here from maybe one or both. Contact the health department. If it's in the health department, the department director. I don't know. I'm asking any direction.
So while they are,
and I'm sorry, it's in ADVS.
Yeah. So I don't have the security contracts right now. I won't have them until my team is on board because that's when I can manage them better. It doesn't matter where the security is posted, what site they are posted at. It comes to the security director, which will be me, to decide. Right now, I'm not that person. They're housed under facility. So it would be a Julia and a facilities discussion. But I can tell you right now, and I know that I'm being taped, if I was in charge of that contract right now, security contracts, that person would be spoken to, and if it's a person that needs to be removed, that person would be removed. Now, from a union perspective, because I always get pushback from the union, well, they're losing their job. No, they're going to be reassigned someplace it's more suitable than where they're posted at right now, because that's one of the things I will not tolerate. So those kinds of issues, those concerns, those questions, those demands would be coming directly to me. And I would be talking to the contractor, meaning the wherever that officer is working, what agency the officer is working for, that guard is working for. We would have a discussion. And then if it's appropriate to remove them from the contract, we would remove them immediately. It's not something that's going to happen down the road. They will be removed immediately according to the contract.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Dorothy. Oh, sorry, Percy. Just to second that, yes, the plan is that Dorothy would have the contract housed in her team and would be able to address that. But for the current state, what happens is, and I encourage, and I think it's because we're trying our best to get the communication out, but the system is now that if you have any concerns, or complaints, please direct them to me and to your facility manager, and that can differ from location to location. So as for specifically, let's say McCoy, Amber, I'll retract that. I'll say Amber Zwetch usually has a pretty wide portfolio for the health department. So majority of the health department, safety, security stuff, Amber and I are the best contact. Outside of the department, what I can do to support is connect you with the appropriate people that are in charge of the security as well. But this is all information that I think Dorothy would appreciate, and I don't want to volunteer you in it, but I think Dorothy would like to start hearing about the different kind of incidents and complaints we have for security. At least for here at McCoy, what I do is we have a bi-weekly security check-in that we do with our security guards here. And we have a log in which staff can submit their complaints about staff or directly reach out to me. I'm with Dorothy. I do not tolerate those kind of behaviors. So they're directly addressed with the security, that individual guard or officer, the security lead, and the supervisor for all the guards here. And we address it, and we give an opportunity to go ahead and for them to, change and move forward. And if it's not like Dorothy says, we talk about it and we remove them from the contract and reassign them to a different location. And we've done that a few times as needed for our building. So we're looking forward to Dorothy stepping in those places. And Dorothy has been very great at coming in at places where she's needed. So please include Dorothy if you're able to. I don't think she'll mind, as well as at least for the health department, Amber and I are the best contact to be able to address the situation. Thank you.
Any idea for aging and disability, other than Dorothy, who the contact should be?
Not directly, but I can definitely connect you to that person.
If you could, that would be great, because then I can give it to my spouse and all of his coworkers.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, we are 10 minutes up on the hour. We're having a great conversation. I'm going to ask one, because I know that there's been, and I got library personnel here. I want to ask one definitely library question that is up next, Dorothy, that I really want to get out. And then I'll turn it over to Natasha. Do you want to, I turn after this question, I'll turn it over to Natasha so we can look at next steps, because I feel like we just touched the surface of this. So the next question I want to ask you, Dorothy, is, in the library, we have a system, a person in charge picks that are not security trained represented staff. We are advocating for management to be primarily in charge of security in our buildings. What did you find in the library that can improve security for employees, management, and visitors? What needs to be improved?
So you're going to ask me a loaded question. Wow. Okay. So I did. I went and the libraries are on my calendar to. I have to work with. They just hired a new security manager. I think he's been on for just a couple of maybe a week so far, maybe a few days. I plan on meeting with that security manager. I think his name is Victor. His first name is Victor, and we are going to go and do security site visits of all the community neighborhood libraries. But to answer the question on PIC, so I have a, I don't want, this is from Dorothy as your security director. I don't want staff in harm's way if at all can help it. I want staff to be self-aware. I want staff to be able to de-escalate because they know their clientele. So if they feel comfortable de-escalating an already escalated individual who is agitated and they feel comfortable doing that, then fine. But I want security notified and I want security on right there in the background, watching and observing and ready to step forward. And that staff member steps back if that person continues with the agitation, becoming more agitated. I want security to be the first and foremost person who engages in a very traumatized situation or incidents. They are the person that does that. And if there's additional training that involves, if there's different post orders or contractual items that need to be inserted, then that's my plan. But for the PICs or for anyone to have that responsibility of being security and taking any kind of enforcement action, I'm talking with the leadership of the library in order to kind of identify those things and see if we can move their responsibilities away from the staff and more onto the security guards that they have already there in a presence at the libraries. So this is an ongoing conversation. It is a library's decision. It is not something that Dorothy can insert herself. Dorothy can recommend, and I say Dorothy because I'm a program of one, that I can certainly recommend. But until we actually bring the program on board and really let you folks, meaning that the county, see what my vision is, and it's hard to really wrap your brain around whether it's going to work or not. I am, again, utilizing security in the way that it should be. They should be utilized. That contract should be utilized. They are security. Staff, no matter what your title is, are not security and to be put in harm's way in any situation unless it is so fluid that they are just wrapped in it and they just didn't have a chance to get out. It just happened, and certain things that just happened. But through training, we can, if it even is happening at a moment's notice, there's a training module that gets you out of that situation and get security into that situation. I know it's really convoluted right now, but Percy, if you have time to invite me back, I can be a little bit more succinct on what that plan is.
Absolutely. And at this time, why don't Natasha and Natasha, we do have a lot of questions that were submitted in the chat and stuff. How do you want to proceed in respecting everyone's time with 4 minutes left to 1 o'clock?
Yeah, it seems like a topic of great importance. I know Miss Dorothy just said we could bring her back. That's always an option, or we can, I've pulled all of the questions. We can also send it to her and figure out another way of getting some of those answers out. to everyone. So we'll think about it. I don't have an answer yet because there was a lot of questions, which is great. But maybe bringing Miss Dorothy back in a couple of months, especially when she has her staff on, might be beneficial then and seeing where we are. So
Okay.
appreciate all the questions, everyone. Thank you so much.
So before we all get off of here, I'd like to take a moment to say thank you to Natasha Davey. She thought that she was going to be able to get off of here and ride off into the sunset, not say anything. As many of you know, as president, one of my best moments was hiring Natasha as our DEI manager. Oh boy, did she give me hell from day one all the way up until day end. Yes, 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 she did. But being able to bring Natasha in and see some of the things that she has implemented, some of the things that I mean, even the DEI office hours where she was able to bring people because she knew that these subject was important to members. I will not get off of this call to say, without saying, Natasha, I appreciate you. You are outstanding, even though you might be walking away from the DEI manager for local 88. Make sure that you continue to fight. It doesn't mean that you have to be the president of local 88. It just simply means that you have to care. So thank you for all the work that you did for local 88 in your role as DEI manager. All right, everyone. What we will do, and Dorothy and Julia, what we will do is Natasha and I will get together, figure out if we're going to send those questions to you or we're going to come back. I think we should send them to you and then maybe post it on our website and stuff, and then we can go from there. Is that okay with you all? All right, Dorothy, do you want to say goodbye? Julia?
I want to say thank you for the opportunity to discuss security with you. I look forward to hearing and seeing and reading those questions. As I said before, my door is always open. My phone is always available. Please, please, please call me and discuss, even if we agree to disagree. That's okay with me, because that gives me a whole different perspective. I am new to the county. I am a city person, so I'm new to the county, and I need to really download into my brain as much information about your concerns, your safety concerns, your security recommendations, and everything. So I'm here, open and available. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you. And we'll make sure to get your contact information out there so folks know how to contact you.
Julia?
Yeah, just thank you so much for having me here and allowing me to be a resource and support. I'm excited to be able to support Dorothy as much as possible from my end. And I'm also excited to be a resource and a point of contact for you all. So thank you for letting me be here with you all.
All right, President Baker.
I just want to echo the thanks for the space that not just is created today, but that Natasha has been creating the entire time you've been the DEI manager for Local 88. I really, really appreciate it. I want to let you know that if anyone in this room is interested or knows anyone that would be interested in the DEI manager, Natasha built a really amazing program in a way that welcomes the next person. So it's a strong, strong foundation. And such a gift to our union, but we are looking for someone, so you can go on our website and apply. You can reach out to Natasha and ask all your questions, and just really feeling full of gratitude. So thank you, Natasha, and thank you, Percy, for this event and then the ones that have preceded it, and recording them and making them available to people. It's really helpful.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much for your time. It is 1:00 in the PM. You all enjoy your day.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Feel better, Percy.